Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making the next project in our Glow Fabric Christmas Ornament collection. It's the Snowmom. She's made from charm squares and she's fun and easy, so let's get started. To make the Glow Snowmom ornament, we'll start with charm squares. These are 5-inch squares, and this particular print with the little floating candies has enough white space that it will work as a, it gives you enough room to embroider the face. I like to aim for this spot right here. It's 1.5 inches down and right in the center. And if I have enough white space right there, then I know this one will work. So I'm going to fold it right sides together like this. Remember, I'm creating this sort of a tube shape with the face here, and I'm going to seam up the side. That looks good. And before I turn it, I'm going to gather up the bottom. So I'm going to go sort of around the circle. I'll secure my thread and then just do a running stitch all the way around the bottom. This is a double strand of heavy-duty craft thread. That looks good. So I'm going to pull that tight and tie it off and secure my thread. I like to kind of wrap and then go back and forth a few times and then knot it off. Now I'm going to turn this to the right side and stuff it. I'm using good quality polyester Fiberfill. I like to, stuff firmly all the way to the top. You don't want the face to collapse. I'm going to use this thread to gather up the top and also to form the neck. So I need this one to be a little bit longer. So again, I'm going to start at the seam allowance and secure the thread in the seam allowance. And then just stitch all the way around with a running stitch about 1/4 inch from the edge. I'm keeping my left hand inside so I can kind of keep the stuffing out of the way. I don't want the needle to catch any of the stuffing. There I am, back to the beginning where I started. Now I'm going to tuck this in, but it's not super important to get it neat because there will be a hat that covers the top. There we go, and now I'm just going to kind of stitch around one more time, maybe back and forth a few times to make sure that's very tight at the top. Then I'm going to send my thread down through the center and out at the back of the head where the head will be, about right here. Here, I don't know what the proportion is, but I'll measure it. It's about 1 inch down. And then I'm going to go around. This is going to be the front of the face here. It's kind of like the size of a marshmallow. Pulling it nice and tight, tighter than you think. You really want to make a deep impression there because number one, it tends to loosen, and number two, there will be like a little kind of a sort of a scarf in there that'll fill in part of that groove. So I'll secure that thread in the back. Now I have a disappearing marker, and I'm going to decide exactly where I want the front. I think this will be good because, nope. See, if I made this the face, then all the candies will be on this side. So where's my seam? There's the seam. I think I'll put the face here, and then these will be a little bit more centered. Okay, so the eyes are going to go right in the middle, like the equator of the face. I I just do little triangles for eyes, then little eyebrows, and a little carrot nose. That's it. You can add a mouth if you like, but I find this is effective and cute. I have 2 strands of black embroidery floss. I'm going to secure the knot in the top of the head. I'm coming out, I'm going to do just 3 stitches. So this one goes to the point, and then the second one is on the other edge of the triangle, and then the third one will be in the center, and that will create a little triangle. Then I always go all the way through in between because I don't want the black to show through the white fabric. So instead of just cutting directly from here to the eyebrow, I go back and forth through the top. You don't have to, but I just really would like to avoid having the thread show. So there's a little angled eyebrow. Don't pull the eyebrow too tightly. The eyebrow should sit right on the surface of the fabric. And then I'm kind of securing this right here so that as I keep stitching, it doesn't accidentally pull that tightly. Then the same thing for the second eye. Just 1, 2, 3. All 3 of the stitches go through the point at the top. That looks good. And then once again, I'm going to go all the way through the top and then down for the eyebrow. Good. And then I'll secure this on the top. Now for the carrot nose, I'm just going to use a single strand of orange floss. And I'm going to stitch little horizontal stitches across the triangle, the nose triangle, the carrot. So I'll start here at the top, and you know the top of the carrot is pretty much even with the eyes, somewhere near the center or the bottom of the eyes. Don't put it too low. I'm not sure how many stitches, maybe 6 or 7 stitches, but just kind of follow the angle of the carrot that you drew and go all the way to the end. I make all of my stitches horizontal. There we go. It's not perfect, but I think anybody would know that it's a carrot nose. Now let's add a little blush to the cheeks. This is just Cosmetic blush. There we go. I always add a lot of blush because it tends to kind of rub off. Great, now let's make her hat. I like the outside of the hat to be red, and we have a couple of options for reds. We have this one, which is nice because it's bright. This one, which is really cute, and this one. And I'm going to use this one just because I haven't used it yet. And the pattern is just a 5-inch circle. So I set my compass to 2.5 inches, and I just, and I just drew out my pattern and cut it out to create a 5-inch circle. Then I'm going to just stack these, pin the pattern, and cut it out. Now, if I had a die for die cutting a 5-inch circle, I really would have loved to have used that. So I'm going to cut it out. It is really close to the edge. There's a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and so it's okay if you're right on the edge. Now I'm going to switch my thread to red in my machine and stitch around the entire thing all the way, no openings, with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. There's my hat, right sides together, and I'm going to turn it through the lining. The green will be the lining, and the red will be on the outside. So I'm just going to make a big X there in the center, and then make sure I separate the layers. And this does not have to be perfect, of course. Just going to snip, 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 and turn through this opening. This does not have to be perfect. There's my circle, and I'm going to go and press it. And I have a glass of water here, and I'm going to moisten my fingers. And I'm going to just make sure that I roll those edges all the way out so that I can almost see those stitches right there. And then I'm going to go over and press it. You get the idea. That's all pressed, and I don't worry about closing up the X in the underside. I'm going to gather around the edge of the circle with a piece of golden white baker's twine. You don't have to use this, but I just like to have something like, if you can see the little gathers, then there's something decorative there instead of just a plain thread. But you could use, you know, embroidery, floss, or anything you like. I'm taking kind of big stitches, and that's because I'm using a big, thick twine. So you can just adjust that. This is about 1/4 of an inch in from the edge, maybe a little bigger than that. And I'm just going to go all the way around the circle. Now I took the needle off. This is going to become a bow at the back of her head. So I want to kind of adjust these gathers so they're evenly distributed, and then this goes at the back. So I'm going to place this all the way over her head, just way down over her face, and pull it tight and kind of distribute this. And this is not to secure it, this is just to get it so that the gathers look right and all that. We're not securing it yet. All right, now I'm going to tie a knot in the back, but it's not secured to the head yet. I just want to get it to the right size. I'm not going to trim these tails either because I want to tie a knot later. Now I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing in there. It just fills in the hat and makes the head have a little bit more of an interesting shape. There we go. And then I'll replace that, and I'm going to pin it so that I can see her features. So I don't want it so low that it shades her face. I want it to be back like this. It's cute how this little bit of a peppermint shows on her forehead. I like that. Okay. So generally it's kind of higher on the forehead and lower in the back. I'm just going to put a couple of pins in once I get it the way that I like it. And then I'm going to use just a regular needle and thread and sew through side to side and maybe front to back to secure it. Now I'm going to secure the hat by stitching through really close to that gathering line. So I'm going to go all the way through her head. So I need a nice long needle. Maybe I'll go to the back this time, way back here. And then maybe up to the top. And then maybe back out to the side again. And then I'll tie off the thread and remove the pins. I'm going to secure the thread way back here underneath the brim of the hat in the back of her neck. I actually think I have enough thread on there to do the buttons, so I'm just going to use that same thread. And I like to mark the buttons, the position of the buttons. Put one right there and one right there. So that way when I'm coming through I'm aiming for a certain spot. There we go. I have these little buttons. I think they're about 3/8 of an inch. I'm just going to go through them once because I have this doubled strand of thick craft thread, heavy duty craft thread it's called. And I think just one stitch, it's two threads will be enough. So then I just skip down to the second little dot and I'm going to sew this one. These buttons are from Hobby Lobby. I'll show you what they look like in a second. There we go. Now I'll secure this thread again and knot it off. Whoa, it's raining buttons. Here's what the buttons look like. I just wanted to show you the package. It has all sorts of colors, but I've never really found any use for any but the black. They're just hanging on the rack with all the buttons. This will become a bow at the back of the bonnet. So, oh yeah, I already tied a knot. So I'm just gonna tie a bow, simple bow, not too big. Because otherwise there's just too many things dangling. Just enough of a loop so that you can tie it an extra time to make sure that it's secure. This one is off center, I kind of like that. Then cut the streamers kind of long because you need enough length to tie an overhand knot in each one of these streamers. Now I'm also going to use a length of baker's twine to put around her neck, and I'm going to put it on this side because I've got so much decoration on that side. But I'm going to put another bow, and you don't have to use the twine. You can use something else. You know, you can do some kind of a strip of yarn would be cute, or floss, or string, or whatever. But I'm trying to sort of unify this collection with several elements, and one of the things that I'm trying to incorporate into each project is the golden white baker's twine. So there we go. Now this one can be a little bit longer. And again, I need to tie off the streamers. There we go. And then of course we need a hanging loop. I'm going to add a smudge of glue right here to the knot, and then I'm going to press that loop down into it so that it stays down. There we go. Okay, so now I have a length of baker's twine through my big needle, and I'm going to sew it through the top for a hanging loop. I like a long hanging loop. There we go. And then finally, I'm going to add a little piece of holly. I love these stickers. And I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue here. And I'm going to press that onto the side that's opposite of the scarf or the streamers. Now that one's done. Here's another one that I made with this red holly print. And I think I'll also make one with this last red print, the Christmas tree print. And I'll show you that. Don't worry, you'll see them all at the end. But I did want to add, if you don't have the charm squares and don't want to get the charm squares and you already have the fat quarters, you can always just cut out a 5-inch square. And this gives you the benefit of being able to line up this area right here, right there, right on the white, the solid white part, so that you can be assured that you have a nice, clean, white space for the face. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.